So here we are in the beautiful Adelaide Botanic Gardens with one of the venues out of the 300 possible venues for Adelaide Fringe 2021. And we are going to speak to Heather Croall for SA Great with JP Drake, episode number 5. Okay, so here we are, SA Great with JP Drake, episode number 5. Wow, who would have thought? Got to number 5. With all the turmoil that's happened in 2020, it's really refreshing to get some really good news stories out there. And nothing is more refreshing than hearing about the Adelaide Fringe, which is obviously on in Adelaide. And I'm here with the CEO, Heather Croall. Heather, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me along.
So Adelaide Fringe, iconic in South Australia.
Yes.
And the thing that staggered me, it's been going for 60 years.
61 years this year.
Oh my God, that's a long time for anything.
For anything. I mean, festivals ride a wave, and Adelaide Fringe has really just been riding a wave that's been on a trajectory up for 6 decades. It started out with some very brave artists that couldn't be in the very first Adelaide International Arts Festival. It was all about bringing international shows in, and local artists said, oh, where do we fit? So we'll just start our own festival on the fringe of the festival. And that was so small. It was just a few shows, and it grew over the decades. It's had many, many waves of growth and different places that it's taken over. So we were, for some years, there was a lot of action around Kintore Avenue, and then we're down near Lion Arts Centre, down North Terrace. Then we moved more into the East End. Now here we are in the Botanic Gardens with the Black Box Theatres.
Amazing, yeah.
So everywhere has potential to be a fringe venue, everywhere.
And there's no doubt you're doing bigger and better things every year. And a few stats that I didn't realise, it's a non-profit operation.
Yes, we are a not-for-profit.
Not-for-profit.
That's
so
right.
It's a not-for-profit operation.
We are a not-for-profit, and so Adelaide Fringe is a foundation. Everything that we earn, we try to plough back into the artists and venues. So the way that the box office works is that the artists and the venues, they take a risk to be in the fringe.
Yep.
No one's paying them a fee to be there.
Yep.
The only money they make is because their ticket sales. So the more tickets they sell, the better financially off they are, and the more chance they have of breaking even and making a financially stable living from the arts.
It's a pretty tough field. Anyone that has the courage to go up onto stage to perform anything,
yes,
whether we're talking a comedy act or a musical,
Yep.
burlesque, any act at all,
Yes.
really deserves all the money they can.
They deserve all the money. They deserve as many people to come in and see their shows. And yes, as you say, we are not taking big commissions like some of those other platforms, and certainly none of the money goes out of South Australia. We run our ticketing, so we do take a little commission to cover our ticketing, but it's run at a break even, so it's not like 30%, closer to 4%. So that's just to cover the costs of having box office staff, admin, delivering the tickets,
setting
all that. Having a website.
Setting up all these venues across Adelaide. It just doesn't do it itself.
Yes, that's right. So the artists and the venues, they take a lot of, it takes all their energy, resources and finances to set up their venues, and they need all the audiences they can get to make sure that they make a good box office at the end of the season, and then they keep coming back. Because one thing that's happening around the world, I mean, we're 60 years old, but lots and lots of arts festivals and fringe festivals are landing on this planet. There's now 300 of them, most of our fringe festivals, and most of the fringe festivals are a lot younger than Adelaide Fringe. So artists have got a choice to go anywhere in the world, and we want to make sure they choose Adelaide Fringe. Fringe Festival, anyone can register a show, as you say, even you could register a show. Anyone can register a show. It's an open access platform. I don't choose the shows top down, it's not curated that way. Anyone can jump on. And then our job is to make sure that everyone knows about the Fringe, that we sell as many tickets as possible, and that some good touring deals come out of it as well. Yeah. And last year we sold 850,000 tickets, and that's about 30% of the entire arts festival tickets sold across the whole of Australia. So that's how big Adelaide, if you think of Adelaide Fringe as that, you know, we're 30% of all the arts festivals and the rest are there. So it's a phenomenal scale to get your head around, that most good festivals, really successful festivals, are selling 40,000 tickets and we're selling 800,000. So that's kind of the thing that we've done. Well, when I arrived, we were selling 400,000 tickets, which is amazing as well. But when I arrived, I was like, we can double that. And it didn't, I remember I said to the board, this was when I arrived in 2015, and I thought, I could say we could double the sales to 800,000, but it didn't sound as like ambitious and great. And then I said, we can make it 1 million tickets. So I just thought, well, that sounds way better. And then in the back of my mind, I'm thinking 1 million's a lot, but let's go for 1 million. And since then, the ticket sales did go on a trajectory to get to 1 million by 2022, which was the year that I said we could do it by. But COVID hit us, and so we might see a little blip in the growth, but I still feel super confident that we will hit 1 million tickets by 2022 or 2023. It's unstoppable, really, because the audience demographic at the Fringe is so unique. We have young, old, everyone in between. Most festivals, they have a specific demographic, 25 years old, 45 years old, 15, you know, different festivals appeal to different age groups. The Fringe we've managed to broaden our demographic in the last few years to get absolutely everybody. And so as a new generation comes in, the older generation, they don't go away, they stay. Yeah. And that's how the growth has been so exponential.
Well, even with my kids, I've got a 6 and a 7-year-old.
Yeah.
And they're coming, we've got a Fringe show next Saturday. And last year I brought them to the Fringe just to walk around the garden. So I totally understand what you're talking about being generational. And it's hard, people don't actually believe that, you know, you got shows for really young kids and shows for everyone else.
But in the Fringe, there really is something for everybody. And also the transformative power of the Fringe. Like, we change Adelaide for 31 days and nights. The whole of Adelaide becomes this amazing, wonderful, fun ride. And we've talked to students who have chosen to study here in Adelaide from overseas or interstate, and they told us that the Fringe was partly why they chose to be here, because it is so unique. And the only other festival that is on the scale that we do this full city transformation is Edinburgh. And Edinburgh is magical and wonderful too, but it doesn't have these beautiful blue skies and sunny days. There is something unique that is different because of our big starry skies and balmy nights and under the trees. There's something that happens in Adelaide Fringe for that month that is so magical that I can't think where else it happens in the world.
Oh, and I think there's many people here in Adelaide that can tell you that, and there's many people around Australia and even the world. Might be a bit harder to get the people from around the world this year. Is there a standout act that you have seen that you've just like, I mean, you mentioned Stomp. I mean, you know, people hitting cans and stuff, people would have thought. Then go totally global. Is there something that you've seen going, yeah, that's something special?
Well,
and this is hard for you because I think you love all your acts.
I do. I love all the shows.
I feel a little bit bad by asking.
No, I love all. I do. I just love all the shows, and I try and make sure that I see the big hits with the big production values in the big venues, but I also spend a lot of time in the small venues. I can, and I'll even make sure that I take. I remember one year the Premier said to me, take me to the fringe of the fringe of the fringe. Yep. So I said, right, we're going down here. There's venues in basements. That year we had a show in the bathroom at the Piccadilly Cinema. There was an actual Fringe show in the toilets, you know. So everywhere there's a Fringe show, you know, down alleyways, in basements. Look at this, in this amphitheatre here in the Botanic Gardens. So my favourite thing is the journey, the exploration, going on the magical journey of it's like a treasure hunt. Yeah. What am I going to find? So I don't ever feel at the end of the Fringe, oh, that one big show is the one. It's more the whole thing, and I just want to make sure that every single show finds their audience, and we just, you know, hope that everyone, you know, discovers and puts the effort into maybe look around a little bit more, take a risk. Don't just go to don't go back to the same venue all the time. Yeah. Go and have a look. We've got 300 venues. We've got 900 shows.
My question was, if I wanted to do every show It would be physically impossible.
You couldn't do that. You'd have to see
How many could I do?
30 a day, which you couldn't do. You could probably, I mean, there are people that do over 100.
Wow.
Yeah. And there are people that take holidays during Adelaide Fringe
Yeah.
who live here,
Yep.
and they just go and see the day shows, the night shows. There are a lot of people, unbelievable, that go see 4 or 5 shows a day.
That's a lot of shows to take into consideration.
Yeah.
And I like that. Choose the shows that you don't normally go to.
Take a punt.
In 2020, you have record sales, record ticket numbers, and then COVID-19 hits the last day of the show or the day after, where limits got put through all venues. What were you thinking then? Go back a year.
Okay, so a year ago we were celebrating our 60th anniversary. We had all this sight set on. This would be the best Fringe. We were going to deliver the best Fringe, sell the most tickets, make sure we have the best sort of Fringe experience ever. And we were halfway through the Fringe. It was unbelievable. The ticket sales were massive. We were on the way to sell 900,000 tickets last year. We were about 13-14% up on the year before, and then news of COVID starts getting around, and there's nerves about whether or not the Fringe will finish, especially in the last 4 or 5 days, and that's when we saw some audiences staying away.
Yep.
But we still ended up at 850,000 tickets, 3% up, so still 3% up from the year before. It was great, but it was that final weekend that the Prime Minister came out, and we had 3 days left of Fringe. It was on the Friday, and he said all crowds of 500 will be banned. All crowds above 500 will be banned. No crowds allowed over 500. And then he added from Monday. So then we breathed. And so we were allowed to finish Fringe. And yeah, it was a slightly quieter weekend than what we would have had. We were certainly on the way to have a much bigger ending for Fringe, but we were so lucky we got through. We were the last festival on earth almost. There was a few others happening around the same time, but we were definitely the biggest one to end right on that weekend. And we are unbelievably probably one of the only festivals in the world that isn't missing a cycle. So we had a 2020 and now we're having a 2021. There's not many festivals in the world that have done that, and we will be the biggest festival on the planet since COVID began.
So it's the biggest festival, full stop, ends on the high, comes in at probably a scary time for them. There's a year of a lot of people not knowing what the hell's going to go on. And then we come out with the Adelaide Fringe for 2021. And it's fair to say the ticket sales have been, obviously there's a bit of COVID distancing and all that, so you had to be a little bit cautious. Hopefully not here in this beautiful outdoor venue, but you've had to be a bit cautious. But how have ticket sales gone for 2021 so far?
Well, so far we've sold 120,000 tickets. We are still a few days out from opening, so I think we'll see what happens over the next few days. But I mean, the audience hunger to go out is there. People are buying their tickets. Artists are desperate to perform. A lot of them haven't performed since Adelaide Fringe 2020.
Yeah.
So we're hoping for an uninterrupted, free-flowing, safe Fringe for 2021, and just being grateful that Adelaide is the city in the world that we can do this in, and that South Australia has been pretty much COVID-free. Unbelievable that we can have the experiences we're about to have at the Fringe.
There you have it. Heather couldn't explain it any better, and I've learnt so much about the Fringe that I'd never known before. And it just goes to show that good things happen to good states. That's why we are going to have a kick-ass Adelaide Fringe again for 2021. And you got to make sure you go out and support all the local acts. As you heard, literally everything goes back to the local artists, and you never know which star is going to come from here in the Adelaide Fringe. Heather, thank you so much for having a chat to us.
Thank you.
And we'll see you later. Bye. So there you have it, Heather Croall letting you know the Adelaide Fringe is more than just what happens here in Adelaide. It has been the stepping stone for many performers across the world. So make sure you go and support your local performers, and you can get all the information from the local Fringe guide at all Drakes and Bank SA outlets.